This mouse has a screen on it. It exudes an irresistible allure for professional gamers, and that would make sense. Pulsar designed the X2H ES with the input provided by professional gamers competing in some of the world's biggest esports titles. Housed within a sleek symmetrical mouse shell weighing 65 grams, this isn't something made for the filthy casuals, but engineered for serious gamers who rise to the challenge and meet competition on stage. For $129.95 USD, the X2H ES includes a 26K sensor, 4 and 8K polling, optical switches, an aluminum alloy mouse wheel, and most importantly, this really cool OLED screen. Like seriously, how many other mice have you seen with a freaking screen on it? Take your seat and get ready for the bell, because we're gonna find out if the X2H ES is worth the price. Welcome to the Rage Academy. My name is Patrick. If you're new here, we regularly look at weird, interesting, and new gaming-related tech. A few months ago, I purchased the X2H ES from Pulsar and decided to give it a shot. I bought it with my own money. I do that from time to time. If you haven't heard of Pulsar gaming gears before, they're a South Korean-based PC peripheral company founded in July of 2020. Pulsar offers a diverse range of products, including mice, keyboards, and gaming accessories, and they even have a collaborative team that features some unique art on their products to offer a stylish vibe. Packaging is something Pulsar always gets right. Not only do their products come in an attractive box, but they also provide all the information about the mouse on the outside. They clearly mark the mouse's size, weight, and internals on the outside of the box. Inside the box, we get a Pulsar branded USB Type-C to USB Type-A cable, the 4K wireless dongle, and the X2H ES mouse. At first glance, this mouse has a very unique shape. Mouse shape is king, and in my opinion, the most important factor when you're picking out a mouse. The shape of the X2H ES is definitely unique to Pulsar, and as somebody that owns over 20 different gaming mice, I would say nothing quite feels similar to the X2H. Pulsar describes the shape as symmetrical, narrow waist, high hump, and I think that tracks. It's quickly become one of my favorite shapes to use when gaming. Fun fact, the shape of this mouse was sculpted at the South Korean Pulsar headquarters by the CEO of Pulsar. You heard me right. The original shape of this mouse was sculpted in clay, then refined digitally, then consistently revised through testing, manufacturing, and molding. Pulsar lists the best grip styles for this mouse as being claw grip. I find this mouse extremely comfortable to use with my weird hybrid claw grip. The mouse clocks in at 65 grams, so it isn't too heavy and it isn't too light. The X2H ES definitely has that junk in the trunk, if you know what I mean. You know what I mean. It measures 120.4 millimeters long by 65 millimeters wide by 39 millimeters tall. For my Freedom unit friends, that's 4.74 inches long by 1.54 inches wide by 2.56 inches tall. That all being said, this mouse shape isn't something I can easily compare to another brand's design. It's definitely gotta try it for yourself type of shape. Like other flagship mice, the X2H ES has a coating on the mouse's shell. It definitely has a more polished feel to it. It's not raw plastic like you might find on other mice. It's a low friction feel against the hands, but at the same time, it isn't as slippery as something like the Death Adder V3 Pro. That mouse was super slippery. Much like the X2 V2, there's small finger indentations on the M1 and M2 paddles. The travel distance to actuate the switches is very minimal. There isn't much space there. The feel is very crisp, tactile, and rigid, and I find this to be true of all 5 buttons on the mouse. There's M1, M2, the mouse wheel button, and 2 side buttons. The entire mouse feels very solid. And in case you're curious, the mouse switches sound like this. Inside the shell, we'll find that Pulsar opted to use Raisha optical switches for M1 and M2. Optical switches work by using a beam of infrared light instead of physical contact points. When you press the switch, there's a small shutter that will open and send a beam of infrared light that signals to the mouse that the switch has been actuated. So we're getting lightning fast performance without any chances of double clicking. I can't find any official numbers online, but you'll usually see optical switch speeds advertised at 1.2 milliseconds latency. Like and subscribe so I can dedicate time to engineer a rig to test mouse switch latency and put good numbers out there for the community. Do it now. Next to the switches, we'll see the aerospace grade aluminum alloy mouse wheel. Say that 10 times fast. The shape of the mouse wheel reminds me a lot of a gear that you'd find in a clock or something like that. It's got these little teeth that goes around the entire thing, and it's been a real pleasure to use. I really like it. It's definitely more premium than I've seen in other mice. This mouse also comes equipped with the flagship Pulsar PAW 3395. The 3395 has a DPI of 26K and is capable of pulling rates of 4K wireless and 8K wired. One of the cool things the 3395 is capable of is a neat little optional feature called motion sync. With all mice, there's some deviations with polling events. If you don't know, a polling event is the transfer of data between the device and your PC. It's measured in hertz, so 1000 hertz will equal 1000 reports every second. 4000 hertz will equal 4000 reports every second. Usually in these polling events, you won't get exactly 4000 hertz each time it reports. It may deviate here or there by small amounts. What motion sync does is intelligently synchronizes the polling events between your PC and the mouse. It's an exclusive Pulsar feature. This means that your mouse will more accurately track its position than if it were disabled. And we'll get into how to enable and disable and change settings on the mouse in a little bit here. Last but not least, we'll find the 500 milliamp hour battery, which, assuming you're running the mouse at the 4000 hertz polling rate, should provide something in the ballpark of 70 to 100 hours of battery life. If you're a regular viewer of my content, then you probably already know how I feel about software for gaming peripherals. But if you're new, let me tell you, I often considered software to be bloatware. There's really no need for a lot of it anymore. Nothing grinds my gears more than a device that won't work without the software running, and I'm looking at you, Pulsar X2H. Stop it. I'm very happy to say there's no software for the Pulsar X2H ES. The entire contraption is controlled from the bottom of the mouse on this small OLED screen. It gives you pretty basic information like your battery life, DPI, polling rate, liftoff distance, and if motion sync is turned on or not. Simple and beautiful. This has to be one of the coolest features I've ever seen on a mouse. This is a short tutorial on how to program the settings on the X2H ES mouse.
Adjusting DPI.
Press the DPI button on the bottom of the mouse to cycle through all the preset DPI settings.
Adjusting polling.
Press the polling button to cycle between the preset polling settings. This only works if the dongle's plugged in.
Adjusting liftoff distance.
Hold the polling button and press the M2 paddle to cycle through the LOD settings.
Adjusting debounce.
Press the polling button and tap the DPI button to cycle through the debounce presets.
Motion sync on off.
Hold the polling button and tap the M1 paddle to turn motion sync on and off. I've never seen another mouse do this, and I absolutely love it. I'm so tired of all the different bloatware that we need to install to get our devices working properly. So to see something incredibly innovative like this is a breath of fresh air. And this is exactly why this mouse was made in the first place. Back to esports, right? See, when you're on stage in front of crowds of people competing for large cash prizes, you need a mouse that just works. And that was the inception behind this mouse. This is why they made it. It's really cool. It's a very innovative thing that they're doing over there at Pulsar, and I really appreciate it because I love this thing. Pulsar mice have a 30-day return period and a 2-year limited warranty. Mouse shape is something incredibly subjective, and unless you live near a micro center, your only option may be to purchase it online. Pulsar obviously puts a lot of thought, time, and effort into crafting their unique gaming products. They draw influence from the gaming mouse community, along with esports pros like PRX, Team Secret, T1, and Case Esports. The X2H ES has been my favorite mouse so far this year. Everything about it is perfect for me. The shape, the feel, and precision it offers when I'm clicking heads in lobbies. This is a mouse I would recommend to friends and family who are looking for a peak performing gaming mouse with an incredibly comfortable shape. Look at this thing. It's got so much junk in the trunk. It's so comfortable. I think this is really a contender for mouse of the year, and I always find myself reaching for it, even though I have all these mice over here hanging up on my wall. Thank you for watching. As always, I hope you learned something, and until next time, GG.